So today we are going to continue with part 16 of our complete CQRS based application using Axon Framework. And where we stopped is on this page. So for now, when we click on the order now, nothing happens when we click on this button, okay, and that is fine. So what we are going to do right now is to code the controller that is going to receive the request coming from this page. So if I go back to my web page, index.html, you can see that we have this button here, order ref, okay, that's fine. And we want, when it is clicked, is going to make a request to that URL, which is this URL you see. So let me just collapse this. So that URL you see right here in the address bar, which is new order. So let's go to our controller and create this. Now you need to pay attention to this, to how I'm going to write this. So basically, we are going to make a post request to the create order method in the RestController, and this is really something that you need to know about. So first is going to be request mapping. So in this case, we are not just saying post mapping, we are using request mapping, and the value is going to be new order. Remember, new order is a URL endpoint, so it's going to be / new order. And the method, now the method is going to be, now we need to specify two methods. So the first one is going to be post, and the second one is going to be get. So sometimes it can be a bit confusing. Request methods dot post, so this post. So and the second one is going to be request method dot get. So you need to specify if you are making a request to a REST endpoint and you want to use a REST template, you need to specify these two methods. For some reason I can't explain exactly why, but this is how it actually it worked. Again, since we are returning the same page, so it's going to be a string function. Let me call it create order, and it's going to be string ID. So now we are going to get the ID of the product, and also the price. Okay, string ID, because order is placed for a particular product, and we also need, so the price actually is double, but for now let's accept it as a string because it's coming through the URL query string. So alright, so at this point now we need to specify the URL. The URL should be, let me copy this. So the URL is the URL of the controller where we are making the request. So it's going to be, I'm going to say, okay, let me just paste it, and then I'm going to change the name to URL. And it's going to be create order. And now this is where it becomes a bit interesting. Now if we are making a request to an endpoint, and this data is coming from a query string, now REST template requires that we need to add headers to this request. So let's specify headers, and this header is going to specify or going to explain the type, the media type that is being sent along. So let me say HTTP headers equal to new HTTP headers. Okay, so we need to set the content type. So basically this is something we normally do when we post from a form, but in this case we are using REST template, so we are going to set this manually. So headers dot set content type, and we are going to say media type dot application form URL encoded, because this data is coming from URL, so it's going to be this one. All right. Then the next thing we want to do is, now the data that is coming into this method from the URL, there are two items there, and these two items kind of is something called multi-value map. So if I go back to this place, if you could look at the address bar here, you can see we have ID is equal to 1 and price is equal to 50.3. So we can get these two items using a multi-value map. So since we want to make it a bit easy, for now let's not worry so much about the data types. Let's just accept everything as a string. So I'm going to create a multi-value map, and it's going to be string and string. So basically just like JSON, but in this case we are talking about multi-value map. Let's call it map is equal to new linked multi-value map. Okay, so this multi-value map, we are now going to add these items coming from the URL. So these items, these two items that this function is going to receive from the URL, as part of the URL string, we are going to add it into this map. So we're going to simply say map dot add. Now we want to add the price and also the ID that was received. So I'm going to say map dot add price. Now you see why exactly I say let's leave the price as string, but later we can convert it to double. So for now, just understand how to send the request, a post request using REST template. So it's going to be price. We also add map dot add. And the next thing we want to add is the ID. So there is the ID of the product, and it's going to be ID. So the question now is, how many items do we want? What number of items do we want to place? So if we go back to the index.html page, you can see order one now. So we want to order just one single item. So for now, let's accept it as hard-coded. Let's just add the number 1. So it's going to be number of items. We are trying to place just one, and we are talking about multi-value map is a string, so let's send it as a string. Alright, so we are not done yet. So the next thing we want to do is to create a request. So because what we actually signed to the URL, what we actually signed using REST template is a request. So that request is going to be HTTP entity of the multi-value map we created. So HTTP. So initially this may not be very clear or to understand, but with time you are going to get it around your head. So what the easiest way to learn is just to do it. When you do it a number of times, it becomes very, very clear. So multi-value map of string and string, right? Okay, this is fine. So this HTTP entity is what we actually going to send, and let's call it request, and is equal to new HTTP entity, and we're going to specify the map we created and also specify the headers of this request. Okay, and finally we are now going to send the request using the REST template. So I'm going to simply say REST template dot post for entity. So this is how to specify post request using REST template. So the first parameter is URL, The second parameter is the request we created, and the third parameter is the. Okay, so this actually, the last parameter is a let me see. Let's see. I'm going to just shift this so that we can see. You can see that the last parameter is the URL, the response type. So the response type is going to be string, because we have to respond with maybe OK or maybe accepted. But in this case, we expect we expect maybe an OK or created response. So it's going to be string. Alright, so at this point, this request, okay, so we also need to return back to the original page. So I'm going to say return is going to be a redirect to the same page. So after making this, after creating this order, is going to simply redirect to the same page, so we are not navigating outside to another page. So I'm going to save everything. I'm going to save all, and I'm going to just check that everything is fine, and hopefully everything is fine. But if there's an error, we can just go ahead to debug. Finally, I will like to quickly check okay, let me take a look here. We have order model, order ref. That is fine. So if I go back to the index page, we have this href. The button, the ID is order ref. Let me just make sure this is fine. Alright, so I'm going to simply save everything, and I'm going to run this application, and let's see what we have at this point. So I'm going to stop and then rerun. Okay, so the application started perfectly well. I'm going to simply refresh this. Now you can see this is showing negative, but for now, don't worry about this. We just want to make sure that the orders are created. So I'm going to click on order now, and I'm going to say yes, place order, and you can see nothing happens. So I'm going to just inspect to check. Place order, nothing happens. Okay. Okay, so if you look at the sorry, let me just make sure. Okay, so we have this button. Okay, this is fine. But take note that this is button instead of an anchor tag. So we are going to change it to anchor tag, because button don't have href, so it's going to be anchor tag, and that is the only thing we need to do. And I'm going to save everything, and I'm going to now stop and then rerun this application again, and hopefully we are going to get a good response. One thing I would like to mention is that at this point we've completed the basic of a CQRS based application using Axon Framework. Now we're actually going to be moving on to the advanced after now in a different different series of lecture. I'd like to recommend you spend some time to get your head around this, try to understand exactly how the different files, the different components of Axon Framework are hooked together to form a CQRS based application. And again, if you have any challenges, you let me know. If you have any recommendation for improving these lessons, also please let me know. Alright, you can see that Tomcat started at port 8087, so we are going to go back here, and at this point I'm going to just refresh this page. I'm going to take out this. I'm going to click on order now. So let's try to do KTG or winter code. I'm going to click on order now and say yes, place order, and it says unsupported media type application part create order. So let's try to fix this. Right, so I would like to explain this to you. So basically, if you go to the other controller, you can see that this is request body, and this actually is not coming as a request body but as a parameter, as a request parameter. So change this to request parameter, and it's actually request param. So that's the annotation to use here. And now we have other summary actually is not correct. So what we are receiving is actually a multi-value map. So it's a multi-value map. Okay. Now we also need to solve this problem. Remember, we actually changed some things from what it is supposed to be to a string. So instead of using this price here, it's supposed to be double, and you can see. So how to extract values from multi value map? How to extract values from here is to say let me just help you get it clear. Is to say summary dot get first, and you specify what you want to get, and in this case we want to get the price, and I'm going to convert to string dot to string. Now let's leave it at this as it is for now. Let's do the other remaining two. We are trying to get the number and also the product ID, so let me also get these two as well. So in this case we need the so we have price, we have so the second one is the first one is UID, the second one is price, number, and product ID. So we have price, this is going to be number, and the last one is product ID. Alright, so you can see that it's complaining because the second one has to be not string but double. So let's convert the price to double. So I'm going to say double dot value of, and specify the content of this function, and this is fine. So that I think this one is done. So that what is left is product ID, which actually should be, sorry, the number should be an integer. So I'm simply going to say integer.parseInt, and integer.parseInt converts to integer. So I'm going to just take. So I think everything should be fine now. I'm going to save everything and I'm going to restart this application, and hopefully we should be done by now. Right, so I think everything started perfectly well. We are going back to the HTML page, and let's try to place this request again, and let's see what we get. So I'm going back to the index page, and at this point I'm going to place an order for KTG winter code. So I'm going to say order one now, place order, and it says internal server no message available at part create order. Why? So I think this problem is coming from the home controller, which is this controller file here. The reason I know is because we've successfully made a call to the REST endpoint. So the REST controller here is working. This controller right here is working perfectly. So the problem is coming from here. The data sent here has issues. So for instance, I think we are sending some data from here across to this URL. So if I look at we are sending the price, we also send the number of items ordered, and we also need to send the product ID. So this product ID is signed here as the string. So we are going to send it across as product ID, yeah. And that is why when we go to the other controller file right here, we are extracting it as product ID, as you can see right here. So I think this will solve the problem. So let's see if we can restart and then move on. So let's go ahead to restart this application. So I'm starting up the Axon server, and now I'm going to stop this, and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to save all first, and then I'm going to restart. Alright, so everything should be fine by now. So let's go back to test the application again. So let's go back to the index page, index. And at this point, I'm going to click on order one now. This is women's shoe, place order. And if I refresh the page, you can see that this women's shoe was ordered and it went perfectly, and the stock have reduced to 99%. Let me order one more women's shoe, place order, and you can see if I reload, you can see this reduces to 98. And let's try to order a KTG winter coat, order one, place order, and you see KTG winter coat is ordered here and it's also reducing the stock. So this is how it works. I would like to thank you for being there. It's been a long way. Please subscribe. If you have challenges, do let me know, and let's continue. In the next series of tutorial is going to be advanced CQRS using Axon Framework. I'm sticking with Axon Framework because it's really very good. So we'll see in the next video series.